Alan, I see, I hear, I feel, I think. These are all different things, but I have a coherent sense of self. I know there are all these neurons going through my brain, but why do I feel so unified?
It's interesting. An interesting question is whether you feel unified as an integration of all of those biological phenomena.
Right.
We know that it's made up of the biological phenomena, but we also know that the whole is greater than the sum of the parts. And what we don't know, but people are beginning to study, is what I call the transduction process, the translation process, by which all of that biological stuff that's going on at the molecular level, the system level, gets converted into you.
Right, right,
Now,
right.
it's a lot easier for me when I think about you to say, well, yourself is the aggregate of all that biological stuff. It's a lot harder when I ask it about myself.
Right, right.
My self is more
This is
than
like
just.
the binding problem where these different modalities, sensory modalities, feelings are bound together and feel like this sense of unity. Is that an illusion?
Who knows?
Okay.
We're at a very early stage in understanding the processes that underlie not only the functioning of our mind, but the sense of consciousness, the sense of self, your identity. We've done a very good job, I think, philosophically at trying to understand what the self is. But now, as science has moved more and more to explaining fundamental biological processes of life, you then start to move into new kinds of domains where you try to explain how do you convert that biology into you.
It is said that over a period of time, weeks, months, that every molecule in your body and your brain is replaced. And yet, I don't feel any different.
So that tracks to a very interesting question about memory. Do you, in fact, remember everything that passes by you and you are consciously aware of throughout your whole life, and the problem is only getting it back out again? Or, in fact, do you have selective attention, selective memory? Now, if you had a mechanism by which all of those cells that are going to turn over transmit whatever they had stored to the next set of cells, you wouldn't have a problem answering that question, because it would just be new cell comes along, picks up all the stuff from the cell that just died, and therefore on you go, and history proceeds through a continuation of replacement and transmittal, if you will, of information from today's cell to tomorrow's cell.
Yeah, as for me, I remember numbers, but not people's names.
I remember nothing.
Uh, so we have cells turning over. We have different modalities. I feel unity. We're trying to explain it, but there's this other phenomena that there are people who have what seems to be different personalities or multiple personalities that are very distinct from each other. Does this help us understand the aberrations? Does that help us understand what the real functionality is?
I think, as a generality, understanding the processes of abnormal behavior have been tremendously useful in helping us understand normal behavior. For example, in schizophrenia, where people have this blunted affect, as we've learned more and more about the experience of blunted affect, it's helped us to understand normal emotion. As to personality changes, that's pretty dramatic stuff. And I think that we're just at a very, very fundamental level in understanding both the behavioral and the biological processes that underlie a personality experience or a personality expression. And it's just way too soon to be getting us at a point where we'll be able to explain the kind of question.
Where philosophers take this, and some physicists, but not most, is that they impose on the nature of reality the importance of human consciousness, self-awareness, human intervention. And one of the reasons we like to try to get at understanding what is this human consciousness is in order to reflect on the nature of reality. Some would say it's total illusion and therefore should have no place in the discussion of the nature of reality. But it's a controversy.
I'm not that well versed in philosophy to be able to tell you what's real and what's not real.
I don't know if anybody else is either.
And the question of how much human intervention modifies reality or modulates reality is outside.
Well, but the issue,
realm.
the fundamental issue is that if we discover or if we feel that the human consciousness is something that is a coherent substance of some kind, that's not just an illusion of the apparent integration of disparate parts, that's an illusion. If it is something real, then it may have some impact. If it's not real, we don't have to deal with it. That's where the discussion comes.
So from my simplistic point of view, I have to say that the fact that every human being experiences their own consciousness as consciousness tells you that in some way the activity of all those parts is being converted, transduced into some higher order experience. We call it consciousness, we call it mind, but the fact is we don't yet know what it is. But the fact that everybody experiences it gives you a pretty good hint that it's probably true.